Hello, everyone. We are just about to go live.
Come in. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I think we're ready to go ahead and begin.
We're ready to go, Mayor Serta.
Okay, thank you. If I can ask everybody to make sure we mute our phones. Okay, we're ready to begin tonight's Gardena City Council meeting for Tuesday, October the 27th, 2020. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Serta.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Here.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Present.
Councilmember Francis.
Here.
Okay, let me just read this here Before we move on, in order to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 virus, Governor Newsom has issued executive orders that temporarily suspends the requirements of the Brown Act. Please be advised that the council chambers are closed to the public and that some or all of the Gardena City Council members may attend this meeting telephonically. If you would like to participate in this meeting, you can participate via the following options. 1, you can view the meeting live on Spectrum Channel 22 or online at youtube.com/City of Gardena. The second way to participate is before the meeting, you can email the Deputy City Clerk at bromero@cityofgardena.org by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting and write in the public comments section in the subject line. Comments will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. The third way to participate is during the meeting via Zoom webinar. Join Zoom meeting via the internet or via phone conference. The direct URL is http://us002web.zoom.us/J//84036305982. Also, there's a phone number, and that's area code 669-900-9128. And the meeting ID number is 840-3630-5982. If you wish to speak live on a specific agenda item during the meeting, you may use the raise your hand feature during that item you wish to speak on. For non-agenda items, you will be allowed to speak during oral communication. And during a public hearing, you will be allowed to speak when the mayor, myself, opens the public hearing. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council will be given 3 minutes to speak. The City of Gardena thanks you in advance for taking all the precautions to help us prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. So at this time, just want to make a note that we do not have closed session tonight. We're going to move on next to the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation. Tonight, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by 2 students via Zoom, Haley and Hollis Mason. Madam City Clerk, will you bring them on? Or Deputy Clerk, I'm sorry. Haley and Hollis will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys can start when you're ready. Just go ahead and unmute yourselves. Okay, there you go. Deputy Clerk, are they unmuted?
Yes, they are, Mayor Serta. It's something on their end.
Okay. Haley or Hollis, if you can make sure you're unmuted and your volume is up.
Maybe their microphone.
Okay, we'll give them just a moment to do that. And I'm just going to read something here. Haley and Hollis are brother and sister. They're twins, actually, and they are part of the City of Gardena's after-school program at Johnson Park. Both of them attend Perchie Avenue Elementary School. As I mentioned earlier, they both attend the Johnson Park after-school program. Haley and Hollis are both in the 5th grade. Okay, you guys have volume yet? We'll give them just a couple more minutes here.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Please stand.
Okay.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be.
All right, thank you guys very much. Haley and Hollis, we appreciate you guys leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody give them a round of applause. All right, thank you. You guys did a great job. Thank you for being part of our after-school program. And hopefully you guys will get to come back on again in the future. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so next we're going to move on to our invocation. Councilmember Tanaka, if you can lead us in that, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we come to you again for another meeting of the council so that we can make decisions, the right decisions for our community, and that we can make sure that what we do is proper and fair. And Father, we just thank you for all the staff that we have at our city who do wonderful things, who continue to put on programs that we don't see other cities doing. So we're blessed, Father, that we have such great people in our city. And so we just ask that you continue to keep them safe, bless them, help them to remain focused. And Father, we just thank you for all that you are doing. And we pray for those Dodger fans right now that are stressing. So Father, we thank you, and for your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Councilman Tanaka, we appreciate that prayer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to presentations. We do have a legislative update by our State Senator Stephen Bradford. Now, I do know he has another meeting tonight. I was wondering, is he on yet or not, Deputy Clerk?
He is not on yet, Mayor Serta, but when he does come on, I'll be sure to let you know.
Okay, Deputy Clerk, yeah, if you can just send me a little email when he does get on. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the rest of the council, because State Senator Bradford is also doing another presentation at one of the other city council meetings. We will take a break in between our departmental items or wherever we're at on our agenda and let him step in then at that time and do the legislative update. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our appointments. Item number 4C. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, councils, or boards at this time? No? If not, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. Before we vote on the consent calendar, Madam City Clerk, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on any consent calendar item?
No, Madam, excuse me, no, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, and all of our council members have had time to look over the consent calendar. Does anybody wish to discuss any items separately?
I have none, Madam Mayor.
Okay. If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Henderson and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. We have a couple of items here. The first one is from our October 20th, 2020 meeting. Item number 7A1, which is the environmental assessment, 5-20, site plan review, 3-20, zone change, 2-20, general plan amendment, 2-20, tentative track map, 2-20, evergreen residential project. Does any member of the council wish to call for review on this item? If not, this is an item that will still have to go for a hearing, and we will do an automatic schedule of November 10th since there's been no official council member. Since none of the council members would like to call for review, we'll go with November 10th date. Next item is item number 782, which is also an environmental assessment 15-19, site plan review 5-19, zone change 1-19, general plan amendment 1-19, tentative track map 3-19, variance 2-19 for 141st Street and Normandy Townhomes. Does any member of the council wish to call for review on this item?
Madam Mayor, I didn't really have a review. I just had a question for community development in regards to the EIR and everything. What did the EIR tell us about the traffic coming out on Normandy? Not necessarily a reviewable item, just kind of a question.
Okay. Do we have a, Mr. City Manager, do we have anyone from community development who is available to answer that question at this time?
Madam Mayor, I believe Acting Director Berrigan should be participating.
Let me make a suggestion here for one moment. If we could table this item just for a couple of moments here. It seems that State Senator Bradford is on now. Meanwhile, Mr. City Manager, if you can make sure Acting Director Berrigan can find out this information, and then after State Senator's presentation, we can go back to this item here. If everybody's okay with that, that would give you some time.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay. State Senator Bradford is with us now. If you're ready, we can turn that over to you to give us our legislative update. Make sure you unmute yourself. Unmute.
There we go. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. It's truly an honor to be here. And as I always say back home, as you all know, this is a practice I've started in the 10 years that I've been in the legislature since I've left the Gardena City Council, providing a legislative update of not only the work that I've been working on over the past year, but what we as a state has tried to achieve as well. And I want to thank, again, the city for the collaboration that we've had over the years since I've left the council to continue to address those issues that are vitally important to all residents of the city of Gardena, as well as the 62nd Assembly District and now 35th Senate District, in which I represent. The 35th Senate District is probably the most diverse Senate District in the state of California, comprised of 7 cities, Gardena being one of those 7. And we all have to admit, during this pandemic year, we face many challenges. And whether you're on the local, state, or federal level, the task of addressing constituent concerns have probably been the most challenging in our not only political life, but our lives, period. COVID-19 has had a great impact on all that we do from an economic standpoint, a racial standpoint, a health standpoint, on so many factors. I'm happy to report that we passed a on-time budget in June, a budget that had no cuts or tax increases. It did require us to dig into our $54 billion rainy day fund that we started with Governor Brown and continued on with Governor Newsom. I want to also recognize our budget chairs in both houses, both Assemblyman Ting and Senator Holly Mitchell, for their tremendous leadership in crafting a budget that both houses could agree upon and the governor could attach his signature to. And it's vitally important at this time that we continue to provide those services that are critically needed at this point. And I want to again echo the partnership with all levels of government during this difficult time. We as legislators, at the beginning of this year, I introduced 20 pieces of legislation. And then we were impacted by COVID in middle part of March. And we took close to a 3-month suspension on legislative work. Upon our return to Sacramento on May 16th, our Senate President asked us to reduce our bill package down to those measures that were COVID related or COVID specific. So I reduced what was 20 bills down to 7. During that period of time, I was also appointed as the co-chair of the Economic Recovery Task Force, myself and Senator Bob Hertzberg from San Fernando Valley. And we worked in collaboration with 8 other senators to craft legislation that was specifically COVID related. And one of the issues that was of great concern and of great discussion was both from a tenant and a landlord standpoint. One, protecting tenants from eviction, but just as important, protecting our landlords from foreclosure. Many times we believe that our landlords are these big multi-million-dollar conglomerates or wealthy individuals. And most of the time that the landlords that own our duplexes, our triplexes, our apartments in the building are frontline workers. They're mom and pop workers. There are bus drivers. There are school teachers. There are essential workers. And we wanted to make sure that they too, during this difficult time, were protected. I introduced a measure that morphed itself into an Assembly Bill, AB 3088, that I'm proud to be the principal joint author on, and it was the Evictions and Foreclosure Relief Act. And it protected not only tenants again, but small mom and pop property owners who were struggling during this COVID-19. We worked with the governor and stakeholders from Apartment Owners Association to tenants groups to craft this piece of legislation that, again, the governor signed a little over 7 weeks ago. And again, it was a package that helped not only keep people housed, but help small landlords avoid foreclosure. This by no means should be viewed as a handout, but a hand up during these very difficult times, which we all know what's happening right now. And tenants facing financial hardship are protected from eviction into next year. And outstanding rent through the end of August was converted into a consumer debt and is not the basis of eviction moving forward. Additionally, tenants who now must pay at least 25% of their rent in good faith. And they will have the outstanding rent treated as debt, the same as consumer debt, and they cannot be evicted based on that. But tenants must formally declare under penalty of perjury that their income has been impacted by COVID-19. And again, our small landlords are now covered under the Homeowners Bill of Rights. So if there's more information you want to seek on that measure, simply go to housingiskey.com. That's housingiskey.com, and it will help walk both tenant and landlord through that measure. Second bill that I was able to get passed was SB 1447. And that's the small business hiring tax credit. We all know that small business has probably been impacted the hardest during COVID-19. Many received little, if no, PPP money that was issued at the beginning of this pandemic. We saw many multi-million, if not billion-dollar corporations receiving hundreds of millions of dollars only to turn around and have to give it back when they really did need it. But small businesses received very little of this money. And unfortunately, we are looking at statistics that say 60% of our small businesses might never open their doors again. What this measure does, it provides a grant to small businesses with over 50% of year-end decline in gross receipts during the second quarter to get $1,000 tax credit for every new hire after July 1, as well as every rehire. So again, there's $1,000 tax credit for every new hire or rehire after July 1 of this year. And businesses with 100 or fewer employees are eligible, and they can use this for either income or sales or use tax payments, including paying down the 1-year zero interest extension on sales tax if they took advantage of that $50,000 extension that was authorized earlier this year through executive action. If anyone from local government asked, this tax credit was funded through our budget junior process bill, so there was no direct impact on any of our local governments for this. And you can expect to see more information, so contact my office by the end of the year when businesses can apply starting December 1 for that tax credit. So businesses who have rehired after July 1, who have lost 50% of their gross revenues, can start applying for this tax credit on December 1st. Next is 1157, the credit reporting for lower income households. This is the first in the nation. It allows tenants who live in small units of 50 or lower to have the landlord voluntarily report their on-time rental payments to a credit bureau in order to establish credit. We all know what happens to individuals who pay rent or bills late. They always have their credit negatively impact, but nowhere in the nation are there renters who are having their on-time payments being reported to a credit bureau in order to establish credit. This will be the first in the nation for, again, individuals who are living in subsidized housing of 50 units or smaller. And it's voluntary with the landlord and the tenant. They both have to agree upon it. And the tenant has a $10 obligation with the processing fee on a monthly basis. So I think it goes a long way to helping those individuals who are renters, hopefully one day establish enough credit where they can be homeowners. Another measure that I was happy that the governor signed, and he was very enthusiastic when he doing it, was SB 203, which is juvenile interrogation, which requires any minor under police custody, before they can waive their Miranda rights, if they're under the age of 18, they must first consult with an attorney or someone over 18 in their family, but more importantly, attorney. We all know what happened 30 years ago in New York with the Central Park Five, when those 5 young men, innocent of a crime, but coerced into committing or admitting to a crime that they did not commit, and they spent decades in prison for that. This will make sure that such acts never happen again, because even there are adults who, while in custody, and when you ask, do you want to waive their Miranda rights, might not know exactly what that means. So let's imagine a 15 or 16-year-old in custody, and they're asking, will you waive your Miranda rights? So it can no longer happen without them first consulting an attorney. Next is a consumer safety bill. And regardless of where you feel about or how you feel about cannabis, it was deemed an essential industry during COVID-19. This is the Cannabis Testing and Consumer Safety Bill. It was a bill that was sponsored by LA City Attorney Mike Feuer, my former colleague in the legislature. It requires everything that hits the street, whether it's for medicinal use or adult use, to be tested by regulatory, law enforcement, regulatory agencies, and various other prosecutorial agencies, to have those products tested before they hit the street, and use licensed facilities throughout the state of California to make sure that our consumers are protected and the products comply with existing state and regulation. And it will also help combat the illegal market by making sure that which is sold and consumed is safe for all consumers, again, regardless of why they choose to indulge in that product. My 6th piece of legislation was 1192, the Benefits and Relief Association. And this creates a important consumer protection for our men and women in uniform, our firefighters and our police officers who are injured on the job. Many times we have men and women, firefighters and police officers, who suffer long-term disabilities, but they're not clear on all the benefits that they have. This measure creates clear transparency between those associations and the Department of Insurance to make sure that those men and women get all the benefits that they rightfully are entitled to. It was an honor to work with my former colleague, now Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, and law enforcement and our firefighters to make sure that this measure moved forward so it protects those individuals and again, provide the care and benefits that they so rightly needed. So those are 6 measures that I got to the governor's desk. I was happy to bat 1,000%, so to speak. But there was one measure that did make the governor's desk, and that was number 7, and it's one of great importance, and I hope of the city of Gardena as well. And it was called the Kenneth Ross Jr. Police Decertification Act. California is now only one of 5 states in the nation that doesn't have a certification process in order to decertify bad officers. By no means is this an attack on law enforcement. This is a direct attack on bad officers. And we all agree they're bad elected officials, they're bad pastors, they're bad teachers, doctors, lawyers, you name it. They're bad individuals in this world. And if that's the case, we have to admit that they're bad men and women who wear uniforms. And this provides us the same ability that 45 other states have to decertify those individuals who have committed a felony, not some little ticky-tack violation, not some little whatever people want to think, oh, he wrote me a bad ticket, none of that stuff. This is felony acts of forgery, of evidence tampering, of use of deadly force, unwarranted use of deadly force, unjustified use of deadly force, of sexual harassment. Because currently right now in California, you can be fired from a police department in one city and be hired the next day in another department. We should all want to end this wash, rinse, and repeat cycle that exists not only in California, but in 4 other states across the nation. So that's what the Kenneth Frost Jr. Act will do. We will reintroduce that in December. I'm happy to report that former DA Gil Garcetti is on board early on this right now. We've had NBA Laker champion Kyle Kuzma, who was an early supporter, Billie Eilish, Aloe Black, Chelsea Handler, Robert De Niro. We can go on and on and on with the entertainment world who supported this measure. But more importantly, the grassroots people throughout the state of California, Black Lives Matter, ARC, Cut 50, All of Us or None, all are on board knowing that we do need real police reform here in this state, in this nation. And it's fair, it's just, but it also maintains a fair process for law enforcement. It doesn't abridge their Bill of Rights by no stretch of the imagination, but it does afford a level of transparency and confidence that the community and the state and the nation has clearly asked for, not only just in light of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and on and on and on, but historically here in this nation, we need true reform. And so this is a measure that helps move us toward that direction. So on that note, I will stop right there. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But I want to say thank you for this opportunity to come before you and share what we've done this year.
Thank you, State Senator. Does any member of the council have any questions at this time?
Madam Mayor, I do have a question, please.
Okay, hold on one second. Councilwoman Francis had her hand up first. Go ahead, Paulette.
Myself. First of all, thank you, Senator Bradford, for all that you do to support us and to help us here in the city of Gardena. Just a couple of questions regarding the tenant landlord COVID eviction relief and the small business hiring tax. You know, with the city of Gardena being a city of small businesses, how can we as a city council help make sure that our small businesses and our tenant landlords have information about this as soon as possible? And with regard to the Senate Bill 7, the Kenneth Ross Jr. Decertification Act, how can we support you in that effort?
Well, and I failed to mention, I mentioned all the wonderful people who endorsed. Let me recognize you, Councilwoman Francis, for your early support of the Kenneth Ross Jr. Act. Kenneth Ross Jr. is a young man who was shot at Raleigh Park, a resident of the city of Gardena. So I thank you for your early endorsement and support of that measure. And as it moves forward, we would hope that this whole council would embrace a measure that's fair, that's just, whose time has come. As it relates to the small business tax credit, again, starting in December, businesses can apply for that tax credit. I welcome you to contact my office. Hopefully there will be a website information also that will help walk individuals through that, our small businesses through that, but my office is there to assist in any questions. And again, from the tenant landlord standpoint, you can go to housingiskey.com, and that will provide information as it relates to the tenant landlord eviction protection and foreclosure act. So, but my office is available 310-412-6120, 6120. Please call. We have staff willing and able to help, as we have been doing for the last 6 months, especially when it relates to EDD benefit requests that's been occupying all of our time. So again, but thank you for your support of 731.
Thank you. It's right. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Kaskanian, you had a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Senator Bradford, thank you for updating us what's going on in Sacramento. My question is, do you have to be qualified for both criteria, your business doing less 50% and higher employees after July 1st?
Do you have to be what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Do you have to qualify for both items that you mentioned, that you have to have your yearly income 50% less and new hire, so you have to have both?
Yeah, it's for businesses with first 100 or fewer employees, businesses that had a 50% gross reduction in revenue over the first 6 months of the year, yes. And you either have to rehire or have a new hire starting in July 1.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, are there any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, we're going to move on. State Senator, thank you again for the legislative update. As always, we appreciate it here, and we always welcome you back to update us at any time. Yeah,
Thank you, and go blue. The Dodgers are up 2-1. Go blue.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and go back to the item that we left off under the Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. It was item number 782. At the time, I believe there was a question that was asked by
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. And Mr. City Manager, do we have anybody from Community Development?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Acting Director Berrigan is available for an answer. Ray?
Good evening, Mayor Serta, members of the council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. To answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem Henderson, and just to refresh your memory, earlier in the year, we adopted the new method for determining traffic impacts under CEQA. Prior to, that was under SB 743. Prior to SB 743, impacts were reviewed under LOS, or level of service, and we are now under VMT, or vehicle miles traveled. This project was reviewed for CEQA purposes. This project was reviewed under VMT, and it showed that the project did not exceed the impact criteria, and there were no mitigation measures that were applied to the traffic portion of CEQA. It was screened out of the VMT analysis. In terms of, but we did do an LOS study, or we enlisted a traffic engineer, and that's to determine, again, what the impacts are to level of service that's outside of CEQA, to see if there's any street widening or any kind of modifications that would need to be done as a result of this project being built. The results of that study showed that there were no impacts due to traffic. There were 18 AM peak trips and 22 PM peak trips as a result of this project. So both of these, both the LOS and VMT show that there were no impacts, both for CEQA and for the physical improvements to the roadways around the project site.
Thank you. The other question I had was, we won't allow people to turn left going southbound down Normandy, correct? Into the property.
Into the property is accessed from 141st Street.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Great, thank you.
Are there any
That was
more?
it, Madam.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions on that item there? Okay. So if not, then I take it then no one is calling for review on that. If that's the case, then also with this item here, it will go to automatic hearing, which will be on November the 10th as well. Okay, next up is item number 783. It's ordinance number 1821. Does any member of the council wish to call for review on this item?
Madam Mayor, there's
Oh, sorry.
a public hearing already scheduled on that item. There's no action that's taken by council.
Okay, so this is just going to be a receive and file?
The ordinance will be introduced during the November meeting. So there's no action at this time for tonight. That's just a report from Planning and Environmental Quality Commission as to what action they're taking. They recommended it to council, but again, a formal public hearing introducing the ordinance is already scheduled for a later meeting of the council.
Okay, so I guess the only thing we just need to note on here is that the commission approved resolution number PC 1120. And they're recommending that the city council approve ordinance number 1821.
Correct.
Okay. That being said, we're going to move on to oral communications. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody wishing to speak on oral communications tonight?
Madam Mayor, I do not see, oh, no, pardon me, a hand just went up. Zahid Ahmed has his hand up.
Okay, before he comes on here, let me just read this here. So for our oral communications by the public will be heard. I'm sorry. I want to remind all of our people who are wishing to speak during oral communications that you are allowed to speak for 3 minutes. And please take note of the clock that's on the screen. When your time is up, we ask that you stop at that time. So we appreciate your cooperation in advance. So I believe the first one was Mr. Ahid. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening, respected city manager and city mayor and city council. I would like to thank everyone for doing an amazing job on building Gardena better. I would like the city to explore issuing a directive on the possibility of creating a series of free weekly flu shot clinics throughout the city of Gardena, focusing on 2 essential components of our city, Royley Park and the main city campus, with a partnership with Los Angeles County Health Department, or even the Los Angeles County Public Library System. Both LA County departments, Department of Health and the LA County Department of the LA County Library, both are having free flu shot drives, clinics throughout Los Angeles County. I would encourage the city to either invite those 2 governmental entities into the city of Gardena, or even creating a public partnership with Walgreens, CVS, or even our local Gardena Memorial Hospital to possibly donate flu shots. They're approximately $11 wholesale. A few thousand of these flu shots, could help bring down the pandemic, because since COVID, we'll probably be seeing the second or the third wave of COVID-19 increase due to the flu pandemic. And I would also encourage the city to use existing city infrastructure like the advertising billboards at city parks like Royley Park, City Hall, to encourage the city into COVID testing is free. Essentially, a lot of people are thinking COVID testing is costing money. And encouraging even, Gardena Memorial Hospital, even CVS, if that's a better, a neutral location where people can go and receive free, no cost COVID-19 testing. I would also like to thank the city for doing an amazing job on giving away the reusable masks, and would encourage giving out the reusable masks to, to local businesses and expanding that since we're in this third wave of COVID. And just want to thank everyone on City Council for doing an amazing job. And I want to thank everyone for the amazing job. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any other speakers at this time?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on to departmental items. First item up is item number 8C1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council. Agenda item 8C1 is for resolution number 6485, approving the form and authorizing distribution of a preliminary official statement and approving the form, and authorizing the execution of a bond purchase agreement and a continuing disclosure certificate, all in connection with offering and sale of taxable pension obligation bonds, and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto. On July 28, 2020, City Council authorized the issuance of pension obligation bonds, also known as POBs, in a not to exceed amount of 101.49 million. Approved the documents in connection with issuing the POBs, authorized the commencement of judicial validation proceedings related to such issuance, and authorized the engagement of Quinton Timig LLP for judicial validation proceedings, bond counsel, and disclosure counsel services, K&N Public Finance to act as municipal advisor, and U.S. Bank National Association to act as trustee. Shortly after council approved the resolution on July 28, 2020, the city filed a validation action with the LA County Superior Court. The action was not challenged, and a default judgment was entered on October 1st, 2020. As a reminder, in California, POBs have generally been designed to be valid without voter approval pursuant to a judicially created exception to the state constitutional debt limitation. Unless challenged, the proceedings are largely an administrative matter. Concurrent to the judicial validation process, staff and the financing team have been preparing the documents subject to approval this evening and have solicited a credit rating from Standard & Poor's, who will ultimately assign a credit rating to the POS. Assuming council approves resolution number 6485 and preliminary official statement, the POBs are expected to be priced and sold to investors in early November 2020. The financial impact and costs are fees contingent upon successful sale of the bonds, estimated 50 million total budgetary savings based on an estimated bond rate of 3.3% over the lifetime of the bond financing. What's required tonight is to approve resolution number 6485, the resolution of the City Council of the City of Gardena approving the form and authorizing distribution of a preliminary official statement, and approving the form and authorizing the execution of a bond purchase agreement and a continuing disclosure certificate, all in connection with offering and sale of taxable pension obligation bonds, and authorizing the directing certain actions with respect thereto, and approve a formal policy relating to managing of future pension liabilities, also known as the UAL policy. Madam Mayor, at this point, I have a presentation to go over our POB. I think it's prudent for us to discuss this one more time in case any of you have any more questions, and or the public as well.
Okay.
Okay, can everybody see my presentation? Yes, okay, great. Okay, so let me start off by saying that last week, we had a virtual meeting with the rating agency Standard & Poor's to determine the city's credit rating for this particular bond. S&P basically asked us to tell our story, the city's story about who we are, the city's previous and current financial status, and where we will be, where we think we will be in the future. So we started off by showcasing the city's healthy reserve levels in the past 5 years, as you can see here in this graph. And it's nothing but spectacular and stellar because not many cities have the luxury of having over 30% reserve levels year after year. As you can see, 2014-15, we were at 31%, and then peaked in 17 and 2018 at 42 and 43%. And then 2018-19, as you can see here, we went down to 27.5% or 16.5 million because we did that fresh start, which basically cost us $6 million, but ultimately saved the city about $11 million in interest. We also talked about that with Standard & Poor's, that even with healthy reserves, as you saw on the previous slide, city has many threats to our financial stability. And I can itemize about 4 of them. The first one being the recession. Everybody was talking about, before the COVID-19 pandemic, we were talking about, hey, when is the recession coming? And we were really worried about that because ultimately, a mild, moderate recession could mean as much as about 20% reduction in our revenues. So, that was a pretty serious, threat to consider. And also, other revenue threats, particularly, this is what we've been discussing recently, and, with the CCGA, the DOJ's new rules on gaming, our gaming revenues to the city means about 17%, or about $8 million in the previous years. So, these new rules and changes like dealer rotations and ban on Vegas style, blackjack could mean, about 20, maybe 20 to 40% reduction in our gaming revenues. And that is quite significant. And then the last 2 here would be the most significant threats to the city's financial stability, namely the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're at right now, and even a bigger threat to our financial stability would be our unfunded accrued liability, or otherwise known as UAL, which is now over $100 million. And this is why we're here tonight. And I'm going to be discussing this in detail in the next few slides. So talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, initially, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, we shut down and closed down everything, right? It's a complete and total shutdown of our economic engine. So the first column you see here would be our fiscal year 2020, 2021 projection without any mitigating measures included. As you can see, the deficit, the operating deficit was over $7.5 million. And this is for 2020, 2021. 2020 was even bigger than this. That really hit our reserve balance, and that would have brought our balance to about 3.2 million, from 16 million down to 3.2, or our percentage would have been down to 5.3%, down from, as you saw in the previous slide, 27%. So we did some mitigation measures in fiscal year 2021. That brought down our adjustments of about 5.7 million. So the deficit went down to 1.7 from 7.5. Reserve balance is still down, but at $9 million. And then the reserve percentage, a little bit better at 15.5%, down from 27%. Some of these mitigating measures that we did include, hiring, freezes and promotion freezes of about 35 positions. We froze our COLA. We cut our material and operations spending by 12%. We froze cash outs and merit step increases. We did furloughs and we did pay cuts, over 100 positions. And, we had layoffs, about 50 positions, this is including part-timers and full-timers. So with that, all those mitigating measures taken into consideration, our new fiscal year 2021-22 projection pre-POB is 329,000, and then it brings our reserve balance to 8.7 million, or 14.4%. So let's talk a little bit about pension obligation bonds. Well, in the next few slides, we're going to talk about, what is a POB and why are we doing it? What are the potential savings? And what is the unfunded accrued liability or UAL policy? And lastly, we're going to talk about financial impacts. The most important thing here, impact on our financial projection for the next 3 to 5 years, and impact on the general fund reserves. So pension obligation bonds is a taxable debt issuance used to extinguish some or all of a public agency's unfunded accrued liability, or otherwise known as UALs. The proceeds would be directly deposited to CalPERS, the city's pension system. We don't ever handle the proceeds, the bond proceeds. It goes directly to CalPERS to pay off our UAL. The annual debt service payments to bondholders would replace the portion of the city's annual PERS contribution allocated to the payment of the UAL. So we're basically swapping, the UAL portion for, the new debt, the new bond. And the opportunity is tremendous. We're able to refinance the UAL debt. Again, this is just another debt. We're not creating new debt. This is an existing debt with CalPERS at a lower interest rate of about 3.3%, compared to the UAL. Our discount rate today is 7%. So it's a big difference. Why are we issuing POBs? Again, we are refinancing our current UAL, which removes the unknown cost that's variable and replaces the UAL cost with a stable fixed payment amount. That's the key here, is that we know exactly what we're going to be paying for the next 19 years in this case. Issuing a POB to refinance the UAL does not preclude the city from taking part in any future pension program changes. So if CalPERS changes their policy or anything about our pension plan, we're not going to be precluded from doing that just because we did refinance. And the interest rate are at currently historic lows, which is about 3.3% for prime borrowers. The opportunity to refinance the UAL at the lower interest rate, currently the UAL debt being repaid to CalPERS, like I said, is 7% discount rate or interest rate. The POB, preliminary market rates indicate that the city could refinance UAL at about 3.3%. And the total estimated savings for all this would be about $50 million for the next 19 years. This includes the refinance and the savings and the fresh start that we're going to be doing as well. So this is just a table that shows the past 5 years and the next 5 years for our UAL and the payments. As you can see, starting off in 2015, 2016, total UAL was about $75 million. If you go 5 years from that, in 1920, it ballooned to 108.4 million. Also, our payment back then was only 3.8 million. It's now at 6.3 million and climbing. And then you forecast the next 5 years from today, without doing anything to our UAL, to our pension system. This is just going pay as you go, standing idly by and doing nothing at all, which is, by the way, what most cities are doing today because they don't have the capacity or capability of doing what we're doing. The next 5 years, as you can see, you go from 108 million to 103 because we are paying off some of our debt, being paid down, but the payments go up, from 6.3 million to 9.9 million, just because of the structure and the discount rate has changed, from 7.5% to 7%. All that has a distinct effect on the payments themselves. So we go from 6.3, let's go back to 15, 16, to 3.8, to 6.3 in 1920, to a staggering 9.9 million in 24, 25, 5 years from now. So the question is, where are we going to get this extra payment if we don't do anything today? If we don't address this today, where are we going to get the extra payment? When, as you know, our budget is balanced year after year. We don't have an extra $3 million year after year. The difference from 1920 and 2021 is about $2.3 million, and it goes up exponentially after that, 700,000, 600,000. We don't have that kind of money to pay extra year after year. So, without doing anything, this is what you're looking at. Some examples of local POB issuers. We just listed about 10 of them. This is all this year: City of Pasadena, Riverside, Ontario, so on and so forth. And then to the right would be the amount. We're going to be in the $101 million, very similar to the city of Inglewood. But as you can see, some other agencies are issuing, Riverside is issuing $720 million. And then that's the county of Riverside, and the city of Riverside is issuing $432 million. So what's the process in bond financing? So the city has been working in conjunction with our MA, our municipal advisor, K&N Public Finance, to review numerous financing scenarios and selected the most optimal financing structure for these bonds. This is with the help, of course, of city staff. The city's top bond underwriters include Bank of America Securities, Stifel, and Siebert Williams and Shank, which happens to be also a minority business entity. We have selected a 19-year bond versus a 30-year bond simply because quicker repayment of the POB and the savings compared to a 30-year bond is staggering. So over $11 million difference. So that alone is a big win for the city. Imagine in 19 years, you would have saved $50 million. 19 years is not a long time. I do want to be as transparent as possible because there are concerns with POB issuance. And this is according to one of the leading agencies, national agencies that we prescribe, tremendously, which is the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association. They're saying that POB issuance has certain risks and concerns. I've listed 5 of them, and you can go to their website and find these 5 risks and concerns. The first one being that the invested POB proceeds might fail to earn more than the interest rate owed over the term of the bonds, leading to increased overall liabilities for the government. That may be the case, but as you can see that the rate that we're currently seeing is about 3%. Compare that to the 7% discount rate that we have, which is the spread or the arbitrage. That is a considerable difference that could potentially make up for any shortfall. Also, this is also true for smaller agencies or plans. But CalPERS is the largest pension in the country. So if I were to make an analogy as far as, let's say you have $500,000 in your portfolio and you're doing some investments, you add about $1,000 to that portfolio, the effect is very minimal, right? It's not going to change it a whole lot. Versus if you only have $10,000 in your portfolio and you add $1,000 in there, which is pretty similar to a smaller agency, 10% is quite significant. But the overall impact of our refinance to CalPERS is very minimal. They have over 400 or $500 billion in assets. Our 100 million is really not going to affect them all that much. The second one is POBs are complex instruments that carry considerable risk. That's true, but CalPERS, as you know, it is very, very, they carry very little risk because they do divestments, which is staying away from the more lucrative but risky investments. And that's one of the complaints from members is that they don't take enough risk. CalPERS doesn't. This may be true for smaller agencies. So it doesn't really apply to us here because it's, CalPERS is so big that they don't really carry any considerable risk. The third one is a taxable debt is typically issued without call options or with make-whole calls, which can make it more difficult and costly to refund or restructure than traditional tax-exempt bonds. So as you saw on our agenda item, our POB has a call option of 10 years. So in 10 years, we can recall our bond and refinance. The fourth one is POBs are frequently structured in a manner that defers the principal payments or extends repayment over a period longer than the actuarial amortization period, thereby increasing the sponsor's overall cost. Doesn't apply to us because we're actually going from 30 years to 19 years. We're shortening it. So this particular concern does not apply to us. And then lastly, rating agencies may not view the proposed issuance of POBs as credit positive, particularly if the issuance is not part of a more comprehensive plan to address pension funding shortfalls. Doesn't apply to us because, based on our meeting last week, we just found out this morning that S&P is reaffirming the city's bond rating of AA minus, meaning that they're not downgrading the city. It's a moderate, assumption. And I do have a couple of slides that talks about the rating in a little bit. Just like in anything in life, in this POB, timing is everything. It includes this issuance. So this is basically a illustration of the business cycle window on when to issue a POB. Obviously, issuing POB is not for every event. There is certain times in a business cycle that you want to issue POB. So for this particular case, you have the X and Y axis, which is the Y axis is the economy, the X axis is the time. And you can see there's two peaks here. Those are pretty much your, the optimal time to be investing. And then between the peaks would be your trough. And the distance between the area between the trough and the recovery portion, this is really where you would want to issue a POB window. You don't want to issue on the peak. Basically, between the trough and the recovery phase. This is important because the first quarter and second quarter of 2020, if anybody knew about this, but we were in a recession already in the first quarter and the second quarter of 2020. Basically, officially, it's defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. However, in the third quarter of 2020, we do have projected a positive GDP. Therefore, we're no longer in a recession. So, we are really going to be somewhere around the POB window as depicted in this illustration. So what is the city of Gardena's proposed POB? So we're issuing $101 million in pension obligation bond, or about 87% of the current total city UIL debt. So why are we not issuing 100%? Just because if there is an event that CalPERS overperforms and it's super funded, we don't want to be in a position where we're going to be losing out on their performance. Therefore, we thought that 87% would be a safe and prudent level to be at. The estimated bond yield is around 3.3%. Compare that to our current UIL discount rate of 7%. So again, the spread or the arbitrage is significant. The POB retirement date of 6/30/2039. This is a 19-year bond. Again, 19 years is not a whole lot considering what we're saving here, which is about $50 million. And then adopt a UAL policy to bank a portion of the annual savings for future UAL payments. This is important. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. So the total estimated savings of $41.7 million will come from the bond issuance. We're going to do a fresh start for the remainder of the bond, and that'll save us about $8.3 million. That total estimated savings is about $50 million in 19 years. This illustration shows, this is a really good one. The red bars indicate what we're currently paying and what we're going to be paying in the future. As you can see, 2020, 2021, it goes all the way to 2047, 2048. The blue bars indicate what is the proposed POB payments, including the fresh start. As you can see, we start paying in 2020, 2021, and then our last payment is in 2039. And then the remaining payments from 2039 to 2048 would be total savings. This is just, that's just the gravy. We no longer have to make payments on those years. So as you can see, the savings, that's where we really save. And then the green line is your savings year after year. As you can see, again, from 2039 to 2048, it's just, 100% savings. So the question is, the question has been asked multiple times, how do you get from no UAL to over $100 million in unfunded accrued liability? How does a city let that happen? The answer to that question is simple, because we don't have the means to do that. As I said, year after year, our budget is balanced and we don't have anything to spare to pay off any unfunded accrued liability. In any given year, in any given valuation, CalPERS is going to hand us a bill and say, okay, we didn't perform as well as we thought we were. This is a bill for $1 million. So that year you'd have to come up with $1 million. Maybe it's spread out, 5 years, but still, that's a significant change year after year. And then if you can't pay it, then it goes into unfunded accrued liability. So it grows year after year after year. So that's the in essence, that's how the UAL grows from 0 to over $100 million. So the question is, how do we prevent this from happening again? We don't want the same thing to happen again in 30, 40 years, right? So to get there, we will adopt UAL policy. So as I said, there's a high possibility that CalPERS will again underperform, and then UALs will arise just like in the past. But this time we have the actual mechanism to do that. How do we do that? The city must set aside between 10% and 60% of the annual savings towards future UAL payments. So, any savings that we have, we're going to allocate 10% or 60% of that and then put it in a separate fund just for those payments, just for UAL payments. And it's going to be restricted, and it's only for future UAL. And then the table below tells you, directs you how to pay off the future UALs, right? So if you have an unfunded accrued liability in any given year or valuation of 0 to 5 million, you have, as a city, you have to pay it off within 1 to 5 years. If it's 5 million to 10 million, you have 6 to 10 years to pay it off. 10 million to 15 million and so on, 11 to 15 years, and then it's over 15 million in any given valuation, right? So CalPERS would actually have to lose a lot of money to get to $15 million. Then you'd have 16 to 20 years to pay it off. So this is the bond credit rating set by S&P, and we just found out this morning that S&P just reaffirmed the city's bond credit rating to AA-. They're not changing anything as far as downgrading us, and this is significant. And really to congratulate the entire city for being able to do this, because in spite of COVID-19, everything that's happening, they've seen the reserve balance go down significantly. They are still reaffirming that we are stable as a city. And how do we do that? Part of that would be the passing of Measure G. That helped us a lot. And then they see that we're issuing a POV to address this growing concern year after year. So according to S&P, and this is straight from their website, AA- bond credit rating is defined as that an obligor rated AA has very strong capacity to meet its financial commitments. It differs from the highest rated obligors, which is AAA, only to a small degree. And this credit rating allows the city to secure a premium interest rate for our bond, which is approximately 3.3%. This is, again, this is just an illustration and showing, fiscal year 1920, and then the 2021 and 2022 pandemic, our budget with the projection with the pandemic and without the pension obligation bond. Again, so you can see the the red arrows here. The first one shows the operating deficit, 5.6 million in 1920, 1.7 in 2021, and then 329,000 in 2022. Again, it shows you, the decrease in, our general fund balance percentage of expenditures, our reserve, general fund reserve basically going down, from 27% to 14.4% in the next 2 years. So with the POV, as you can see, quite a different story. This is painting a totally different picture. You go from relatively 1.7 million in deficit in 2021 to a surplus of 1.3 million in 2021, and then a surplus of 3.8 million in 21-22. which brings, you know, our reserve percent from 17.6, you know, going to 21% and then back to 25%, which by the way is your council directed, you know, level. So we're back, you know, from 18-19 of 27%, you know, pretty close at 25%, you know, for the next couple of years. So the question is, how does this, you know, we've told the story of the city of Gardena. So how does this end? How does the story of city of Gardena end? This is really a very preliminary, but, you know, conservative 5-year financial projection with the POB. So from 2020 to 2024, as you can see, it goes up, you know, dramatically. From 21%, you go to 25%, even higher than that, 29%, and then ultimately 30% in 23, 24. And then, you know, after that, it'll be about 35%. An illustration on the 5-year general fund reserve projection. The blue represents with the POB, and then the orange is without the POB. As you can see, a stark difference between the two. If you go to 24, 25 without the POB, you know, you're really getting out of the 14.4%, but only to 19%. Very big difference between 19% and 31%. Yeah, this is just, you know, financial impacts. City budget policy calls for, reserve policy calls for 25% of expenditures. Under the adopted budget, the city's general fund reserve will shrink to 14.4% by June 2022, and the city would be under a deficit for 3 straight years. With the POB savings, the city projected general fund reserve will be steadily improved and surpass the 25% target by June 30, 2022, and then 31% by 2025. So in conclusion, as stated in the council budget presentation in June, we're addressing the biggest elephant in the room, which is the unfunded pension liability, which should be the #1 priority of the city, or any city for that matter. And then refinancing our UIL debt at 7%, there's a discount rate, for a POB with the interest rate estimated at 3.3% is a very good and sound financial decision. Short term, the city will end the budget deficit and steadily increase the general fund reserve towards the 25% target. Long term, including the first fresh start, the city will save a total of $50 million over 19 years and establish a UL policy to address the future UL payments. Again, this is the big icing on the cake. You know, this is really the, you know, our solution to the problem of, you know, how do we get to $100 million UIL level? And this is really, you know, the answer to that. And then lastly, it allows the city to normalize and ultimately, you know, it affects our employees, right? You know, we can start by ending the furloughs. So special thanks to our CFO, Ray Beeman, and the entire Admin Services Department, all our labor groups, all our employees, and our mayor and city council for making this happen. Should you vote to approve this, also want to thank our municipal advisors, Mark Young from KNN and Larry Lom, our bond counsel, Quentin Thimig, underwriters, Bank of America, Stifel and Siebert, and then our trustees at US Bank. Madam Mayor, that ends my presentation. I'm be happy to answer any question you have.
Okay, before we go to questions, I too would like to thank all of those involved in this here, from our finance department and you know, city manager and all the different people who were involved in this. This was not an easy task, and I know this went before the finance committee meeting, myself and Councilmember Cascanian. And it's a big step, but I think it's a good step in the right direction. And as I said before, a lot of work has gone into this here. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Let's start with Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And before we get going, Dodgers just won the World Series.
Right.
So that's why you're hearing fireworks, illegal fireworks. Clint, thank you very much for your staff and everybody that worked so hard on this. I just wanted to say that I went to the League of California Cities Conference a few weeks ago, and PERS representatives were at a couple of these sessions. And they talked exactly about what we put in place. They talked about all the things that you and your staff did to make this happen. They explained that there are some that are doing it, but again, when you put in at the end where you said, there are some, things that could be going bad with this, they explained that too. But I think the way that you presented this shows that I think a lot of that we won't have to worry about, especially because you brought it down from 30 to 19. There's just a whole lot of moving parts that you put into play. And so I just really appreciate what you do for us financially as a city manager. And I give kudos to you and your staff. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
That's all, Madam Mayor.
All right,
sir.
thank you. Councilmember Henderson, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry.
It didn't matter. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to thank the Finance Committee and all the staff that participated in this. And I really want to keep my headphones on because I don't want to scare everybody with all the celebration going on around the way. I do want to say that I was reading something somewhere and then having a conversation with somebody else about this exact thing that we're doing. The fact that we shorten the term from 30 to 19 is beneficial as we start looking forward to what Gardena is going to be. And a lot of the criteria that was spoken of in regards to, we're still building, so that's a good thing. And a lot of our inventory is kind of getting bought up and sold. We have stable government, which is always key as people talk about investing. And because now that we've kind of put ourselves on the precipice of being a smart city, we are starting to prepare ourselves for what's happening moving forward as we talk about artificial intelligence and different things in business parks and all that. So I think this is a prudent action for us to go, gives us the opportunity to stop furloughs and start looking at bringing some of our family back to figure out what we can do as we start figuring out how the best way to safely open up our facilities. So again, I want to thank everybody for their work on this. It's a lot of hard work to kind of get to this point. People are living longer, so that's why we're paying retirements, all the way out, way out. So this is kind of part and parcel to everybody eating at our good restaurants here in Gardena. That's why they're living so long and everything we have to pay for retirement. But I want to thank everybody for their work on this because this was hard work.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Anything? Am I on? There we go. Okay, with that being said, before we go to vote, I'd like the thing that I guess just really sticks out the most is saving $50 million and having the ability to bring our employees back, those who were laid off and furloughed. So that is truly important and to get our city moving forward again. With that being said, can I get a motion, excuse me, to adopt resolution number 6485?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, who's the second? Oh, okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascadian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francis,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you, Clint, for that one there.
Madam Mayor,
Mayor.
may I ask? You
Yes.
also need to have a motion to approve the formal policy relating to the managing of the future pension liability, the UAL policy. If
I'm
we
sorry.
can have someone make the motion for the approving of the UAL policy.
Okay. At this time, can we get a motion for somebody to approve the formalization of the UAL policy?
Madam Mayor, I'll move to move that policy, UAL policy.
Okay, is there a second?
I think Art seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you second, Art? I didn't hear.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
If you didn't, you did now, so. Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Henderson and a second by Councilmember Cascadian. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascadian,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Yes.
and Mayor Serta.
Yes. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to be sharing my screen again. Okay, this is item number 8C2, COVID-19 update for October 27, 2020, as of October 27, 2020. Total case count in the city of Gardena is 1,338 cases. This is up 37 from 2 weeks ago. Total death count, unfortunately, we lost another one up to, now we're up to 55. We're still third in the South Bay as far as infection, and infection rate is 2.26%. Over the last 2 weeks, the number of positive COVID-19 cases increased by 2.69%, with an average daily increase of 0.20%. In comparison, LA County has experienced a 5.99 increase over the last 2 weeks. Local healthcare facilities are stable and able to maintain all functions without assistance. South Bay infection rate among all 15 South Bay cities, Inglewood has the highest infection rate at 2.96 per capita, followed by Hawthorne at 2.48, and then followed by Gardena at 2.26%. So our population has, overall population test positive for COVID-19. LA County is in tier 1 of the state's blueprint framework, indicating the transmission of COVID-19 is still widespread. Personal care establishments may reopen indoor services with modifications. Over the last 2 weeks, the Economic Development Manager received 8 calls from businesses related to economic assistance. The Restaurant Pandemic Video Series was launched today, October 27th. Mayor Tasha Serta and myself visited the Zuma restaurant to kick off the series. The video will be released to the public during Restaurant Week, which is from November 8th to the 14th.
Good job.
This is a graphic illustration of total cases, which is 1,338, as I said, and then 55 total deaths. The dark blue represent the daily rate of increase, and then the lighter blue representing the percentage change over the past 14 days. I'm happy to report, as you can see, both of them are trending lower on the past 14 days. Madam Mayor, this ends my COVID-19 update.
Okay, thank you. Next up is item number 8G1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 8G1 is to approve award of contract to SOMAS for construction management services for $332,739 and authorize a project amount of $339,287. As part of the fleet plan approved by Council in February 2017, G-Trans is pursuing a mixed fleet of compressed natural gas, or CNG, and electric buses when purchasing new vehicles. This is still, our mix of 80-20, 80% to 20%. As part of the plan, G-Trans will construct a CNG fueling station and upgrades to its maintenance facilities to accommodate this new technology. G-Trans does not have the in-house technical expertise and construction management experience, so it is necessary to hire professionals to assist in this key role. Therefore, G-Trans issued an RFP on June 23rd, 2020 for these services on the city's online bidding platform, Planet Bids. The solicitation was sent to 538 vendors who were registered on Planet Bids, and 62 vendors have downloaded the solicitation, including 3 DBEs, or disadvantaged business entities. In addition, the RFP was advertised in Daily Breeze, Gardena Valley News, online professional transit publications and organizations, and several DBE-specific publications and distribution lists. Following a proposal meeting and job walk, 2 proposals were received: Answer Advisory and SOMAS. The proposals were evaluated based on qualifications and experience, with SOMAS receiving the highest score. SOMAS has significant relevant experience with several federally funded CNG station projects, along with previous work for the city of Gardena. SOMAS will perform such activities as contract administration, quality control inspection, cost and schedule control, document management and change order negotiations, and dispute resolutions. They will also perform design review, procurement support of G-Trans's design build RFP, along with claims avoidance and resolution and resident engineering inspection services. This contract will be done on a time and materials basis at a contract cost of $332,739. V-Trans is requesting a contingency under this program of 20% or an additional $66,548 to accommodate any unforeseen expenditures that may arise. Such expenditures will not be allowed unless agreed upon and approved in advance by G-Trans management. Funds for this project are included in federal, state, and local grants specifically designated for this project. There is no impact to the general fund. What's required tonight is to approve the contract.
Okay. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? No? Oh, go ahead.
Quick question. So there's a contingency of about $60,000. What happens if money is not spent or everything, you don't spend the entire 60,000? What happens to the balance or that money? Where does it go?
So if it doesn't, if we don't spend it, then it just goes back to their budget, the G-Trans budget. Okay. From wherever the pot of money that came from, that 66,000. Again, it's mixture, federal, state, and local pot of monies.
It's all grant money.
Yes.
Any more questions?
Madam Mayor, it's Mayor Pro Tem Henderson. Mr. City Manager, this is more of just a kind of a, what do you think type of deal? Because there was a few DBEs that did respond, and although so much did respond and score the highest bid, is this an opportunity for us to, and we probably don't want to get into contracting, but talk about possibilities of when primes score to see what work can still be subbed out, or do we just kind of want to stay out of that and just let them decide
point,
that?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate that question. It's a very good question. Because of the technical nature of the work, you know, yes, there are going to be some companies that are going to respond, but the vast majority is, you know, they're either, you know, not qualified to do this particular work or scope. And so you really want to defer to the, you know, the most experienced companies like SOMAs. But, you know, if we were to do this in-house, I mean, we just simply don't have the expertise to do that.
Will we want to encourage the primes to, if there's some tasks or milestones that can be met by DBEs to do that, or they would do that on their own?
They're managing the project solely and entirely. So they would have the discretion whether or not to sub it out to any DBEs. We wouldn't have any. Obviously, we can raise that point, but ultimately, you know, this is going to be their, you know, their show. So any subs that they want to take on, obviously, it's up to them.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, then can I get a motion to adopt resolution, I'm sorry, approve the award of the contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilman Kaskanian and a second by Councilwoman Francis.
Councilmember.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 9A1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 9A1 is resolution number 6484, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gardena, California, standing in solidarity with the people of Armenia and arts. Councilmember Kaskanian, would you help me with the pronunciation of Artsakh?
Artsakh, correct.
Artsakh, thank you. An Artsakh to condemn Azerbaijan's aggression. On October 13, 2020, Councilmember Kaskanian and Mayor Pro Tem Henderson requested that staff prepare a resolution to condemn Azerbaijani aggression on the people of Armenia and Artsakh. The Republic of Artsakh, also known as Nagorno-Karabakh, is the historical homeland of Armenians and has been primarily populated by Armenians for thousands of years. It is also a disputed territory situated between Azerbaijan and Armenia. From 1988 to 1994, Azerbaijan and Armenia went to war over the disputed territory, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, or OSCE, Minsk Group, whose members include the United States, was created in 1992 to help resolve the conflict between the neighboring nations. Although tensions in the region are decades old, and while ceasefire has largely prevailed since 1994, armed hostilities broke out on September 26, 2020, when Azerbaijan's military forces launched a deadly and unprovoked attack against the Republic of Artsakh. This attack has resulted in loss of many innocent civilian lives. Moreover, this attack was not only a direct threat to the Armenian population that has lived in Artsakh for thousands of years, but also to regional stability and fundamental to the United States' interests. Exacerbating the situation, Turkey is providing military support to Azerbaijan in the form of infantry, weapons, and training. Because our country is based on and committed to the values of democracy, liberty, and the right of self-determination, the United States has moral obligation to stand up and speak out on behalf of the people of the Republic of Artsakh. Resolution number 6484 resolves that the city of Gardena stands in solidarity with the people of Armenia and Artsakh and calls for the White House to condemn Azerbaijan's aggression, demand a cessation of hostilities, cut off military aid to Azerbaijan, and work with the Minsk Group to establish peace. The resolution also calls for CalPERS to divest from any and all holdings, debt securities, global equities, and currency investments by the Republic of Turkey. Furthermore, the resolution also resolves that the city of Gardena will no longer conduct any business transactions with any Turkish or Azerbaijani companies. There is no financial impact. What's required is adopt resolution number 6484.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? I have a question. Mr. City Manager, are we currently doing any business right now with any Turkish or Azerbaijan companies at this time?
Madam Mayor, we are not.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple of comments. I would like to thank everyone, the city manager and the city attorney, for preparing this resolution. I thank you very much. And when I gave the directive last council meeting, I briefly explained the situation, what's going on in Armenia and Artsakh. But at this time, with your permission, if that's okay, Madam Mayor, I would like to yield my time to Mr. Arsen Shirvanyan. He's the Government Affairs Director of Armenian National Committee of America. He's going to give us some brief information and put us in the picture exactly what's going on and what's the situation at this time.
Okay, he's coordinated with our city clerk to come on?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Yes. Deputy City Clerk Romero has coordinated with him.
Okay, thank you, Mina.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Arsen Shirvanyan. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Armenian National Committee of America Western Region. Thank you so much for having me today. So as it has already been discussed, on September 27th, the Azerbaijani and Turkish military launched a full-scale assault on the people of Artsakh, a small landlocked area with a population of 150,000 people. Since then, we've seen both Turkey and Azerbaijan incessantly bombing areas with obvious civilian populations. And more so, they've also used cluster bombs and other munitions that are clearly and unquestionably outlawed by the international law and have been recently criticized by the Human Rights Watch and also Amnesty International. As a result of this war, currently 50% of Artsakh's population has been internally displaced. About 33,000 kids have not been going to school for exactly a month now, and over 1,200 people have been killed. Now, despite the repeated attempts by the governments of Russia, France, and most recently by the United States to broker a ceasefire, Azerbaijan has continued to violate the negotiated ceasefire. And most recently, the president of Azerbaijan has announced that the only way that he will negotiate a peace agreement is when the area is under full control of Azerbaijan. Now, it's only natural for the city council to ask the relevance of the issue with regard to the city of Gardena. First and foremost, the city of Gardena is currently home to thousands of Armenians who call Gardena home. Many of them are descendants of the Armenian genocide and are currently witnessing live stream a second attempt of genocide happening to their own people in Armenia and Artsakh. Secondly, the Armenian people and their allies do not wish to see either Turkey or Azerbaijan benefit from investments by systems that Armenian Americans currently contribute to. Namely, that includes CalPERS and CalSTRS, two systems that currently hold investments of Turkish issued government bonds. And last but not least, many of the neighboring cities have in the last couple of weeks have issued statements condemning Turkey and also Azerbaijan for their indiscriminate attacks on Artsakh. And it is only natural that the people of the city of Gardena also call for a similar resolution, and the city government, in a sense, to listen to the will of the people there, as it is in a democratic country that we currently live in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more comments or questions at this time? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6484?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Kaskanian and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Kaskanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. Next,
you.
Next, we're going to move on to item number 9A2. Councilmember Tanaka, would you like to give your report now, or would you like to include it in your with your remarks? It's up to you.
You know what? I'm first up on remarks, so I'll just do the remarks.
Okay, that's fine.
That works.
Okay. So let's move on to council directives at this time. Does any member of the council have any directives for our city manager? I have one, I don't know, maybe a directive or maybe a question, maybe staff can look into. The person who called in during oral communications when they were inquiring about the free flu shots, I'm just curious if the county already offers this, and since we already have a partnership with them, I was just wondering, I know the city, we usually have something like with flu shots or something like that. Is that something in addition that maybe they might do, you know, in addition to what we do as well? That maybe we could look into that?
Madam Mayor, we are actually in talks with LA County with the pods or point of distribution for the flu vaccine, and ultimately that model is going to be used for distribution of COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available ultimately. Right now, we're working through the details of the pod distribution sites. I imagine that we would be, going live with them sometime in the future. The things that we're working through are how much staff does the city have to put in, and then is there a end date as far as the activity of the pods? Carmen, do you have anything to add at all on this, or is that pretty much it?
No, we're still, in discussions with the county at this time, trying to just, again, ensure that if it's determined that the city can only participate X number of days, X number of hours, because that's all that our staffing allows, that they will allow us with that flexibility. So right now they're in the process of simply just assessing where within the city they would even be a viable location. However, given the fact that two of our primary locations, Raleigh Park and Elko Oak, are currently being used as our voting election centers, it's something that obviously would not even be able to be in place until after the election is concluded. But again, they have been out to the city to assess us as to viable locations, and we will be in discussions with them and see if we can negotiate a potential MOU.
Okay, great. Well, just disregard that since you guys are already working on it. So, okay.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other directives at this time? Okay, if not, let's move on to our city manager remarks regarding directives and council items.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First up, I would like to do a quick CARES Act update. We've received a considerable amount of money so far. So I just want to give the city council and the folks that are listening to us, what we have received so far from CARES Act and what we've done with them. So to date, the city has received 2 allocations of CARES Act funding, program funding in 3 rounds. So we had round 1 funding, we received $370,465. Round 2, we didn't get anything. And then round 3, that's the $531,519 funding. The city has created the following programs using CARES Act funding in addition to the $75,000 initially that we reallocated from the prior year program from CDBG. So the first one is the Small Business Assistance Program, which provides grants for commercial rent for 6 months. Folks are able to, business owners are able to take advantage of up to $30,000. Total program funding is $370,000. We received 30 total applications so far. We have approved 16 and we have denied 14. Of the 16 approved businesses, 2 businesses are in the process of completing paperwork, pending grant proceeds of totaling $23,700. 14 businesses have been issued checks totaling $249,913. So we've actually, distributed and mailed out checks to 14 businesses, totaling almost $250,000. Grants totaling $267,613 have been awarded, and an additional $108,386 remains available for future rounds of small business loans, which we just reopened recently, or a reallocation to other programs with higher community demand. The second round of small business loans was opened on October 23rd, which is what I mentioned, with approximately 3,800 businesses being contacted in a blast email. We also had a residential utility and nutrition assistance program with $75,465 in funding. Program provides qualified families for up to $500 assistance with residential utilities, as well as to assist them in addressing food insecurities. And the Human Services Division is accepting applications from residents, is working towards requesting payments for the first group of qualified applicants. And lastly, our emergency rental program funding totaling $531,519. Guidelines approved at the October 13 meeting by our city council. Program open for applications on October 23rd. It's being advertised in all of our social media accounts, city website, and will be featured on the Gardena Honda sign. 100% of the allocation is going directly to the community. Although we're allowed to take some admin cost, the city is not has not elected to take any admin for the city. We're giving all of this away to our residents. Okay, so we also have a memo sent out to all city council members and the mayor from council directed by Councilman Cascanian regarding the South Bay City's case data. It's basically on October 13, the meeting, Councilman Cascanian made a directive to provide data on infection rate per capita for all South Bay cities. That memo was sent to Mayor and City Council on the 26th of October. Also, on October 13, 2020 meeting, Councilmember Francis made a directive to resume having the student pledgers during our meeting. As you saw, we had one this evening, and that memo was sent to you on the 21st of October. We also received, and I forwarded to all city council members and the mayor, a memo, a letter of commendation memo from a business owner who was extremely pleased by actions by all of our CDD, Community Development Department staff. He's very pleased, very happy with the interaction and the outcome. So I thought I'd share that with you. I just want to congratulate Acting Director Berrigan and his staff, all the staff, for a job well done. This is heartwarming just to see that somebody would actually take the time and write a letter outlining and highlighting the positive experience that he received dealing with our staff. So congratulations to Community Development and Acting Director Berrigan. We have 3 videos for you this evening. First one is the rental assistance video, followed by the Halloween video, and then the city clerk's video on voting. So Deputy Clerk, would you fire those up? Thank you.
From losing income to losing family members, the COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact on many households. I'm Zarina Karzada, and I'll share with you how the city of Gardena is hoping to help its residents with a rental assistance program. During the pandemic, Joyce Warren lost her job as a caregiver, and then months later, her husband to lung cancer. With limited finances, Joyce and her family worried about how she'll be able to afford her rent and bills on her own.
They don't want me to move, they wanted me to stay here, because this is where Dad, was.
His passing left a devastating impact on her and her family, but it also put Joyce in a difficult financial position.
I'm on unemployment right now, so I had to, sit down and figure out, how I was going to make it.
That's when Joyce learned about and applied for the City of Gardena's COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program, a program that is funded by the CARES Act and is available for low-income renters in the city that have been financially impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, with a one-time payment of up to $5,000 directly paid to the landlord. It's a financial break that Mayor Tasha Serta hopes will help about 200 renters in the city buy more time in their homes.
If it's just yourself or your family and children, that can be a big stress factor, not knowing if you'll be staying in this place, another month or so, or how much longer your landlord can hold out in letting you stay there. So potentially this can make a difference of somebody being on the street or not.
It's a small amount that could relieve some financial stress for renters like Joyce.
This was just perfect timing for me because I was thinking in terms of where am I going to go now? I can't do this by myself.
It could take up to 10 days before renters like Joyce find out if they will receive a portion of the funds, an amount Joyce is hoping will help her afford to stay in this home until she can get back to work.
All right, thank you so much. The second video we have, I believe, is regarding our Halloween. So due to COVID-19, we are reimagining Halloween, and it's up to Record and Human Services to figure out how do we do Halloween and trick or treating without actually getting in each other's way. So join us for Gardena's Halloween route on Friday, October 30th, 2020, beginning at 6:30 p.m. We will have 6 locations for you to enjoy. The event is free thanks to our sponsor, Waste Resources. And now for our video. looks spooky. And for the last video, this is for, I believe this is a video that we tried last meeting. This is from the city clerk's office regarding voting.
Hello, Gardena residents. I'm Nina Semenza, Gardena City Clerk and your elections official. Election day is only 1 week away, but you don't have to wait until then. You can vote now and avoid the long lines. The in-person voting center at Raleigh Park is now open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, and on election day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can also register to vote at any vote center and vote at the same time. Another option is you can drop off your ballot using any vote-by-mail ballot box. They are conveniently located outside of our 2 city facilities at Nakaoka Community Center and Raleigh Park, and available 24/7 through Election Day. You can also vote at the Nakaoka Community Center, which opens on Friday, October 30th. Visit la.net for the most up-to-date information, or you can call the office of the city clerk for assistance at 310-217-9561. Again, we are only 1 week away from Election Day, November 3rd, 2020. So Gardena, let's get out there and vote. Your vote matters.
All right, great job, Mina. And last but not least, I want to greet somebody a happy birthday. His birthday was yesterday. He turned 21 yesterday. Chief Sapel, are you here? Happy birthday.
Yay.
I don't know if he's here, but there you go.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
I gave him a direct order yesterday to go home early, and he said, "Yes, sir. I'll be out of here by 5." Happy birthday again, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Mayor, sir, that ends my report. You're muted, Mayor.
But I have a question. Is it possible I have a question?
Go ahead. You got a question? Go ahead.
Yes, my question is to City Clerk Semenza. Madam City Clerk, do we leave the ballot boxes outside overnights, or how often we collect those ballots out for the envelopes?
The ballots are being, in the vote by mail ballot boxes, are being collected every 24 hours and taken to a staging area in Pomona. And then they're processed there and taken to Norwalk.
Okay, we collect them or somebody comes and collects?
No, the county collects it and takes it. So it's protected. It's safe.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam City Clerk, also, I think the part of the first question was, he asked are the boxes, I guess, taken in or out. They are bolted down, correct?
Yes, the boxes are bolted down. They're safe. They're secure. The only boxes that are not bolted down are the black boxes, which are in the voting centers. And those are taken at the end of every day to Arthur Johnson Park, where they're all collected there. And then at the end of the evening, the sheriff's department comes and takes them and, to Pomona. I hope I've answered your questions.
Thank you. That was very informative. Okay, any more questions before we move on to remarks? Okay, that being said, we're going to move on to council remarks. We're going to begin tonight with Councilmember Tanaka.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's going to be a little lengthy, but I'll keep it as short as possible.
Okay.
So I did attend the first virtual League of California Cities conference. And I'm going to tell you, for as short a time as they had and for what they presented, it was done very well by the league. A lot of the conferences were pre-taped, which is understandable, but I think it allowed the actual moderators and the speakers to listen to what the questions were and to actually answer them live. But it was an interesting time. And I actually had more time to visit more sessions than I would have if I were actually on site. So I went to opening session. They had a great speaker, Neil Pastorica. He actually spoke to us from Canada, but he wrote a book. It's called The Book of Awesome. So if you kind of look for that, basically what it does is it says, you know, we have our priorities backwards, but you must be happy, do great work to be successful. It's not the other way around. But he does an inspirational thing. So if you see his book, pick it up. You might like it. I attended the League of California Cities division, LA County division meeting that we had. We had a speaker that Paul Mitchell that spoke about current voting, how it's going to be redistricted, and how it's going to look in the future. So you can probably see the way it is now. It's even going to look a little more different in the future. The CalPERS session, I attended that, and we pretty much got a lesson from our city manager about that, and we were pretty much online with the things that they were talking about. They did say look out for AB 2967. I haven't looked that one up yet, but that was one that they had mentioned. I attended Restarting Your Community, and it kind of basically talks about, are we changing as fast as the world around us? Are we keeping up with the things that are happening, especially with COVID, the way that we're doing business now, the way that things are being presented to us? Are we staying, I think, forward to that? Are we thinking faster than the things that are going on? So it said the things that we really need to think about in the future is to look at what must be done well, what needs to be done well, and what we would like to be done well. So we really have to look at what must be done first and then work down from there. And community building was a big thing. It's something that we do very well in our city, is dealing with our community and how we interact with them and make them a part of the things that we do. There was a little thing about municipal revenue, wasn't real interesting, but the one thing I think that they did talk about was how municipal revenue is going to have to change from the normal way we get revenue. And they were talking more about working on transportation issues and hotels, with bed taxes and things. So I think we're already kind of looking at the hotel portion in our city, but that was kind of the new thing they were saying is municipal revenues are going to have to start looking at different sources. The housing update was kind of interesting. They talked about how there's a crisis statewide. The interesting was is it said that California has the most expensive homes anywhere in the nation. I kind of thought, well, that's kind of strange. And when you talk about we don't have enough housing, because they talked about California needs 180,000 homes annually. And right now the governor is talking about trying to get 3.5 million homes in the next 7 years in California. So I don't know how we're going to do this. I know that the arena numbers are kind of skewed, that we're looking at that. But that was something that I kind of gleaned out of the housing update. They said to look out for AB 88, AB 69, and SB 330, which I think was a Wiener one that was, I think, is being rehashed. Disaffecting and reopening. It talked about guidelines of knowing the CDC guidelines and the protocols as to what does right look like when you're trying to reopen, either like City Hall, some of our offices, or even businesses that are outside. It said, look to see what is right and how does that look. There are touch points they talked about, action touch points, which are 2 feet off the ground to 6 feet. those are the areas that you really need to clean and disinfect in the places that you work. It talked about creating programs on how to specifically clean your business or the city hall or any of the offices. They explained if somebody in a department tests positive for COVID, you just quarantine that person for the allotted amount of time, which I think is 14 days. They get tested, but then you go to your EPA regulations, and you only have to actually clean and disinfect the areas that the affected person had access to. So it doesn't mean you have to go and clean the entire building because of one person. You pretty much know where that person's at. So they said you just kind of need to key on those points. I went to the AB 1234 class, and I know everybody has to take that. When you take it, please pay attention. It was a very good class. This one, they made sure that you didn't just sign on and go away. They had questions that you had to answer. There was a whole bunch of stuff that you actually had to click on so that they knew that you just didn't say, I took the course. So, and certificates were given out. I think I'm getting one. Let's see, I went to a class about furloughs and layoffs. It's exactly the same information that we did when we did our layoffs and furloughs. Our city manager, it was amazing that things that the sessions that I went to, the topics that they talked about that affected us COVID-wise, we were pretty much 90% on board with what they spoke about. So the furloughs and layoffs, I looked at what they talked about. We did a very good job of how we did that without, making it too crazy. We were pretty conservative as far as we went. I went to the mayor's and city council members' business meeting. And they moved that one kind of quickly because of the General Assembly. They kind of overlapped. But it was mostly who's going to be president next year, who's going to be on the board. But I went to the General Assembly to vote because I was the voting member. And you know what? Murphy's Law, it finally kicked in on the last day. I signed on and I could not get on as a voting member. All I could do was enter as a participant. Now they had some ways of calling and emailing. I did all that, and I don't know if they actually got my vote, but the vote actually passed the way that I was going to vote. But unfortunately, there were other voting members that didn't get on, so they missed a quorum by 2 people. So they still sent the vote forward as it was. But it was kind of nice of the league because I actually got emails and phone calls expressing their apologies about how that happened. But you know what? It's the first time. I was very happy with how it worked. I know Carmen was at a few of the sessions, and I miss seeing people in person because the networking, there wasn't much networking, as if you were actually in Long Beach at the conference. I kind of missed that part of it. But it was overall, it was a pretty good conference, and I thank the city for allowing me to attend that. So segueing into what I did over the last few weeks, I did the Think Pink, where our city recreation parks had the kids that are in our care during the day. They put out stuff about how cancer sucks, and they gave out pink lemonade. They gave out pink ribbons. They were out there with their signs. And it was just a really good thing for the kids. You could see how much joy there was that they actually got out and were able to make a difference. The South Bay COG, I attended a legislative briefing, and you heard pretty much what was said was all the things that the politicians were doing with their SBs and their ABs. And Senator Bradford was there, spoke about the same things. So it was pretty much a show of this is what bills I sent forward, those that weren't and were not approved. COVID did have an impact on the Assembly bills and the Senate bills because they only worked on COVID bills pretty much. Some of the other ones are kind of put aside. But so you'll probably see a lot more bills coming after COVID. I hope, Paulette, Councilmember Francis, I hope you were able to sit in for me on the COG meeting that I missed. Gina's son got married. I married them this weekend, and there were a whole bunch of things that occurred from Wednesday till Saturday. And so I had to apologize to the COG that I couldn't make the board meeting, but the wedding was way more important than that. So congratulations to Gina's son, Jonathan and Kristen, for the wedding. It was a great day. And the last thing I did was flapjacks. Flapjacks, the great thing. It was more of the police department thanking the community for all the years that they put this pancake breakfast on, and the community coming out and supporting our canine program by donating, by buying canine stuff, the little dogs, the shirts, all the things that they provide to help support that program. So Chief Captain Osorio did a great job at that, and all your members and the city staff, thank you for doing that, because it was a lot of fun. It was early, but it was a lot of fun. So that ends my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Tanaka, great report. Since our last time together, I've attended a Sentinel Youth Services Special Board meeting. We had a special call. It was all virtual, kind of square some items away. So CYS is looking good and is vibrant and thriving. I also attended the 8066 virtual coffee with Assemblymember Mayor Suchi. So it was his update, but it turned into tell us about Gardena, tell us about Gardena. So luckily I was there and responded to all the questions folks had about Gardena. So I gave greetings on behalf of the council. I also attended a minorities business opportunities with Los Angeles World Airports, and kind of understanding what some of those opportunities are and everything as I formulate some other stuff. I completed my AB 1234 training as well, to Councilman Tanaka's comment. Yeah, you can't just kind of just sit there. You got to actually sit through it and respond in the affirmative with a certain percentage. So it's a little bit more than 2 hours and everything, but it was great. It's good, refreshing, and good new stuff in there. I attended a Business Federation COVID Task Force meeting to discuss some of the things that our business community is concerned with in regards to us opening up after COVID. I also attended the LA Sentinel food giveaway they had in the Crenshaw district. We had an American food giveaway at Raleigh Park. I had a chance to meet Jim Brown. He still looks in great shape and everything like that for his age. Also had our South Bay Fiber Network meeting. We're setting the schedule up, and we're trying to determine what next steps our communities can do to highlight some of our fiber network needs. I also attended the Gardena Flapjack giveaway, and that was a great event. It was a lot of fun spending time with my colleague. I'm sure everybody can comment on that, so I won't go into that in detail. And I did read today that LAUSD is going to be investing $1 million with Verizon to students that are housing insecure, as well as in foster care, as they work through this distance education challenge that they have. Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilmember Francis.
Yes. Okay, so I also attended the Think Pink Thursday with the Johnson After School program with the children for breast cancer awareness. And as Councilmember Tanaka said, the kids were very enthusiastic. And they also wanted to give a shout at them because they also raised $250 for the Susan B. Komen Foundation. And I just really appreciate the staff getting the children involved in these activities, because people just don't become adults and become civic minded and having a sense of volunteerism and helping each other out. It starts with the children. And so I appreciate for them for giving that good life lesson early on. I also attended the 20th annual Flapjack breakfast with our Gardena Police Department in support of the K9 unit. And we do have a beautiful K9 dog. I wish we could get another one. I don't know how we go about doing that, but it would have been nice. I understand there were 2 and 1 retired. And so now there's one K9, but it'd be great if we could get another one. And the only thing that I missed about it is in previous years, there was a line out, you got to see all your friends you hadn't seen in a long time. It was a lot of talking and people sat down and actually had pancakes together. And then we went to the Heritage Festival and I missed that part of it. So, but better days ahead and the way things are now, it won't always be the way they are. And then also I happened to be driving by Raleigh Park on Saturday, the first day the voter center was opened. And I saw this long line of people that started at the door and went all the way back almost to the bathroom. I thought, oh my goodness, all these people are voting. So I was on my way someplace else, but I turned around, stopped and got out my car. And it was amazing. It was a great line. It was wonderful to see everybody on the first day out there voting. Now there was a little glitch. I understand the system went down as things happened on the first day. But so I called Mina and then Mina called Becky, and within what 15, 20 minutes, Becky and Michelle were there and they went inside, they talked with the officials and they came back with reports. So we'll just tell everybody to be okay. It's gonna be all right. People still get to vote. So, and then I got to meet a lot of people, I saw some friends of mine I hadn't seen in a long time. A teacher I used to work with when I worked for Hawthorne, he was in line and he lives on the other side from Hawthorne. So I got to talk and say hello to everybody. You guys don't worry about it. But Becky and Michelle, they were wonderful. In fact, I expected county to X off the social distance marks, but they hadn't. So here's Becky and Michelle putting down the tape and Xing off the social distance spacing, and people did get an opportunity to vote. So thank you so much. As this is, let me repeat, the voting center is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Raleigh Park. The auditorium and the gym are open. There's a drop box center there. And the election voter center will be open on election day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please go out and vote. Please vote. This is the most important election that we had in a lifetime. But make sure that you exercise the right to vote. So many people gave their lives so that we could have the right to vote. In fact, my grandmother, and I'm not that old, but my grandmother had to pay $4 a poll tax and be able to sign her name in order to vote. And she always made sure that she voted. She made sure that no matter what, you vote. So please get out and vote. And it's very safe, very secure. And actually, once the line got going, it moved pretty fast. So thank you, Becky and Michelle, for showing up on a Saturday. That was the same day as the breakfast, by the way, pancake, but they kind of just left that place. I also want to give a shout out to our public works guys. I got a thank you card, and the reason I got a thank you card is because of their effort. Neighbors had a concern about the wall there that runs along 135th Street, right behind my house, and the vines were growing out, and the trees were growing over, and there's a lot of trash. And so she said, well, Paul, is there anything we can do about that? I said, well, we'll call and find out. Call the city manager. He put me in touch with Kevin Thomas over at Public Works. And I was even surprised how quickly they came out. I mean, they were, within a few days, they were out and had trimmed the vines and taking care of the trees and got in the trash, and it looks so much better. And my neighbor, she sent a thank you card thanking us for taking care of the problem. She said, I can't believe it happened so quickly. I really expected it to be weeks or maybe a couple weeks before anybody got around to us, but it was within days. And she thanked us. She's grateful for being a part of a city that's so responsive to their citizens, their neighbors. And she said, now 135th Street is clean and no longer eyesore. Thank you for keeping our streets and city clean. So staff at Public Works, thank you so much, especially when we get to talk about furloughs and layoffs, and we're not staffed at the highest level. But the one thing that I've always appreciated about our staff here in the city of Gardena is that no matter what challenges we are facing in delivering services, they've always maintained a high level of excellence, and I thank you for that. And that pretty much, I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. that pretty much concludes my report. Thank you so much. Better days ahead. Because the way things are now does not mean they'll always be this way. And I thank you, City Manager, for that lengthy report in my package. I read the whole thing. My gosh, I know more about UAB, and all UALs than I ever wanted to know in POBs. So thank you so much. I got a good education. It was very impressive, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
ma'am.
So next up, myself, since the last council meeting, I too attended the Think Pink breast cancer awareness that our Recreation and Human Services and the after school program put on. And, you know, once again, like it was mentioned earlier, you know, thank you for having the kids out there. That was really great. And I often wonder, how do you make sure little kids social distance, but they did a great job doing that, because I know how little kids are. They're very active and they want to keep moving, but our staff did an amazing job in keeping everybody distance, and every time everybody moved, they kept at a distance. But I think it was great. And like was said earlier, just making them a part of that event. And our staff was really out there working. In fact, when the cars weren't passing by, they went to the end of the block and they stood out there with these signs shaking and encouraging people to come through. And I think people start making U-turns and coming back around. So you guys did a great job with that. And I commend you guys for always putting 100% into everything that you do. Also, since the last council meeting, I attended my monthly county sanitation meeting. And then I also attended my CCGA meeting, which, as many of you guys know, deals with the casinos in the state of California. And one of the things that came out of one of our meetings we had over 2 months ago was trying to make contact with Barbara Ferreira, who's with the county. She is the health director there. We were able to get a meeting with her and able to talk and or persuade her to see if we could open up our casinos with outdoor entertainment. And she recommended to the county supervisors to do that. And I'm very pleased to say that now we're able to have outdoor gaming at the Hustler as well as at Lucky Lady. And in fact, well, I guess I can just skip to this part here. I had the opportunity yesterday to take a tour along with our city manager and our transportation director of the two casinos, card rooms, just to see how it's operating, you know, how they're practicing social distancing, the barriers that they have for the players who are out there. And it seems to be going really well. I was very impressed with how well they're doing. In fact, they even mentioned to myself and the city manager how a couple of other card rooms from other cities came over to see how Gardena is doing it. So I'm very pleased to see how that's turned out. Also, since the last meeting, I attended the Flapjack Give Back, very good event. It was very early in the morning. In fact, before I got there, apparently on social media, I saw there was dancing in the street. They were having such a good time out there. So thank you to the entire staff for being so enthusiastic about the event. It was a good event. And you know, when you have so many people working together, you can put it all together really quick and break it down really quick. And everybody was just having a good time, giving out pancakes and smiling and giving out all that great swag. In fact, I've even had some people contact me as recently as a few minutes ago saying, hey, how can I get one of those sweatshirts? So hopefully you guys will advertise on social media in the police department, ways that people can get more of your canine shirts, the little dogs, and so on, because people apparently really like it a lot. And I think it's great when people in your community want to show their support by wearing police advertisement of whether it's supporting our police department or canines or whatever it is that has the city of Gardena on it as well. So thank you guys again for doing a great job with that. Also, this past Sunday, I attended the Pentecostal Missionary Church of Christ. They had a prayer rally for our local election. And this was, it was outdoors, and there was probably about 100 people there, but they had everybody socially distant there. And the church, as I mentioned, they had a prayer rally, not only for the city of Gardena, but for all of our elected officials, as well as those who are potentially up for election. Just, you know, because so much has been going on over the past year or so, that we have a peaceful election, that everything turns out well for all of us. So I was very happy to attend that. Also today, I had the opportunity to do filming at the restaurant Azuma, as was mentioned earlier, with our city manager as we prepare ourselves for Restaurant Week. And I know all of the council members are going to do this coming up as we kick it off, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that during the announcements. But I just want to encourage the community as a whole, go out there, support our restaurants. If the restaurants don't have outdoor dining, at least go in there and get takeout. These restaurants are really struggling, and I think it's important that we do what we can, especially if you're a person like me who doesn't like to cook. Support those restaurants there. I think it's going to be really good. And as we move forward with this, as we're, get past COVID, I'll probably be considering introducing an ordinance that may be allowing some of these restaurants to continue to have outdoor dining because it seems like something that is just going to work. I think it will help our restaurants as they're getting back on their feet. Most of these restaurants, they've found really creative ways to be able to have this outdoor seating in their parking lots where it doesn't take up much room. And who knows, COVID may go away for a little while. If it were to come back, at least that way we're ready for it. So as we move further down the line, I think it's too early to talk about now, but I think it's just something I'd like to, throw out there that it may turn out to be a directive. Just because it seems like it's working well. Two more things I just want to mention. Daylight saving is November 1st. So remember, everybody, the clock goes backwards. So don't forget, it's the day after Halloween, as well as our elections. Just want to encourage everybody to just get out there and vote. Whoever you vote for, just do it, vote. And with that ends my report. Next up is Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I've been attending a lot of meetings regarding the situation in Armenia and Artsakh. I've been busy with that. And I did had a meeting, phone conversation or virtual meeting with our local legislator in a state level. And I would like to thank Assembly Member Mike Gibson. After I spoke with him, he did put a tweet out there condemning the Azerbaijani's aggression against Artsakh and Armenia. As well, I had a phone conversation with Assembly Member El Muratsushi. Him as well, he did put a tweet and condemning the situation. I spoke with Assembly Member Arenberg, and I would like to have sincere thanks to Assembly Member Arenberg. She did put the same thing too. I did receive her tweet too as well. And I just like to mention over here that Assembly Member Burke, she was in Armenia and Artsakh last year, and she went visit with the delegation, legislative delegation, and she did send me a couple pictures as well when she was over there. So I thank you very much, Assembly Member Burke, for your continuous support. I did reach Congresswoman Maxine Water, and one of her staffers get back to us, and Congresswoman, she was busy with her elections, and she said that they will put out a statement after the elections is over. And me as well, I did drove by, Madam Mayor, with for the breast cancer awareness, and I received my pink lemonades and my ribbon, which is I use it. And I would like to congratulate and thanks all the staffer that they helped putting this together. And with the kids, they were amazing. And when they gave me the pink lemonades, one of the kids told me, "Sir, the lemonade is a little warm. Take it home and put it in the refrigerator, please." So I received that warning from them as well. And Saturday as well, I drove, Madam Mayor. I couldn't be able to attend the flapjack, but I drove and I received my delicious pancakes and eggs. It was great. Thank you very much, Chief Safel, Captain Osorio. Job well done. And I was able to purchase a couple shirts and a mug cup and some coins. There was another coin dedicated for Rodney Gonzalez, I think it was. So I did receive that too as well. And job well done, Gardena PD. And Madam Mayor, that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, next up is announcements. So we have quite a few announcements here. The first one is regarding our votes, Gardena votes. Just want to remind everybody that we have 2 vote by mail drop boxes that are open 24/7. They're already been placed out. The first one's at Raleigh Park, which is at 132nd and Van Ness. The second one is at the Naco Community Center. So they're open 24/7. Also, our voting center is already open at Raleigh Park. It's open at 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then starting on October 30th, our voting center will be open at the Nakaoka Center, and that will be from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you have a couple of different ways you can go in and vote in person or just drop them off in our drop boxes. Also, this was mentioned earlier, but our emergency rental assistance program. In fact, I had someone even call about this today. If you want to find out information about this, you can go on our website at www.cityofgardena.org/CDBGCV. If you have any questions, you can call at 310-217-9574. Or you can email at foodpantry@cityofgardena.org. You're going to need basic information that you'll have to provide, like a social security number, your rental agreement. You have to reside within the city of Gardena, and a few other things. But we do have that information available on our website, or you can call for that, as well as it's also on our social media sites on Facebook and Instagram. Also, just so you can start planning ahead, our Gardena Restaurant Week will be from November 8th through 14th. You can follow us on Instagram at dine_Gardena. And you can get more information from Instagram as well. And then also our Halloween route that we're offering this year for kids. You can visit 6 of our drive-through locations to pick up trick-or-treats. You must do this from your car. In order to comply with our health regulations, there will be no walk-ups. You have to arrive in your car to do the drive-through. Face coverings are required. There are 6 locations: Freeman Park, City Hall Complex. Freeman Park, which is at 2100 West 154th Place, City Hall Complex, which is at 1700 162nd Street, Mos Fukai Park, which is at 15800 Brighton Avenue, Johnson Park, which is at 1200 West 170th Street, G-Trans, which is at 13999 Southwestern Avenue, and Raleigh Park, which is 13220 South Van Ness Avenue. Also of note, most people are thinking October 31st. This Halloween route drive-through is going to be on Friday, October 30th, and it starts at 6:30. So just so you don't get it confused, it'll be Friday night, not Saturday. And just so you can see, this is the route. You can go on social media, I'm sure, or our website to get more information. Also, we're going to have a holiday basket raffle fundraiser where the proceeds will benefit our senior citizen programs. The raffle tickets are $5. We have a basket that is valued at $500, and the drawing will be held on Thursday, December 17th, 2020. If you'd like to purchase tickets, you can go to www.cityofgardena.org/events. There's also information on the City of Gardena website, on the City of Gardena's Facebook page at Gardena Events, or also on our Instagram at Gardena Events. Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to remembrances. Tonight, we're going to adjourn in memory of Gilberto Barrino, who was 75 years of age. He was the beloved brother of Juan Barrino, who is our sewer maintenance worker in the Public Works Department. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Maria Luisa Madrigal, who was 79 years of age and the beloved grandmother of Human Resources Analyst Diane Schur. So at this time, the Gardena City Council will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled closed session portion of our City Council meeting, which will be at 7:00 p.m., followed by a regular City Council meeting at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all. Good night, all.
Everybody.
Yay, Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.